And we're live reacting to an SEC Week 11 that kind of took away the pretenders and showed who the contenders truly are. Locked On SEC Squad Edition starts now.
You're talking ball with the SEC Squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC Squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC Squad.
Everybody, welcome into the SEC Squad reaction show here on a Sunday. Dealing with some computer issues, technical problems, so if we're a little laggy, we got to deal with it. But welcome in today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. I'm Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. We got Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. Luke Robinson, Locked On Bama. Should have a few other guests joining us along the way. And gents, my big takeaway from Saturday was, man, just started to really find out who is still a contender. We had some crushing games, Georgia crushing Mississippi State, A&M crushing Mizzou, rolling to 9-0. And then you had kind of some tough ones. Vandy had to eke out an overtime win over Auburn. Bama had to, play an ugly game against LSU, but kind of put them away. So, Luke, since we got you, let's kind of start there. I thought, we didn't really know what to expect from LSU, interim coaching staff. Still offensive problems. We end up seeing Garrett Nussmeier get benched. Michael Van Buren comes in, does some good things, but that LSU defense really stymied Ty Simpson, and albeit 2 late drives right before halftime, kind of were the difference in this one.
Yeah, I think LSU played pretty well. Alabama's offense played about as poorly as it's played all year. Ty Simpson, I would argue, had his worst game of the year, even considering Florida State. And that's okay. You still beat LSU and you come out of there with a win. And somebody on the chat just brought it up. Maybe they're looking forward to to Oklahoma. I doubt that. It's still LSU. Anytime you beat LSU, it's a good thing. And it's a tough win. So look, it wasn't Bama's best game. There's no other way around it. But at the same time, you look around the country. Oregon was on the ropes. Louisville lost as an 18.5-point favorite. There were a lot of ways this thing could have gone, and Alabama still got some problem running the ball. There's no doubt about it. And in fact, at this point, I think it's just fair to say that ain't what we're going to do, and it's okay. We're just not a running team, and I know it's hard for Alabama fans to absorb that and to come to grips with it because we've always been a running team, and we've had Derrick Henry and Najee Harris and TJ Yeldon and blah blah blah, and we just don't this year. I thought it was very telling on a crucial 3rd and 1. Last night, we sort of run not a jet sweep, but something like that to Jeremy Bernard to get the yard. And you know what? I want to do that more often. The Wildcat with Jam Miller on the first drive, that's when things were a little concerning to me. I thought the crowd was great. I thought the crowd was amped up at the very beginning. We get to 4th and 1. We're going for it. We're in their territory. Let's go ahead and run this ball down their throat. We put Jam Miller on the Wildcat. He doesn't get a yard, and I think that took the air out of everything. So let's just pass more. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was interesting to see because I'm of the opinion that if Alabama loses one more game, and especially if they lost to Auburn, with as bad as Florida State has been, Alabama would be in a situation similar to what Ole Miss was in a year ago. So survive and advance, that is something that is on the table, but they're doing it at the moment. Oklahoma is going to be a really tough game, and good gosh, we're going to talk about Auburn in just a little bit. How bad of a look of that was for Hugh Freeze. My goodness. But Alabama took care of business against LSU. They got the win. LSU's defense is really good. LSU's offense, man, that's another thing. It's just a bad look. It's so inept.
It's red zone. Because they moved the ball between the 20s on Bama, it felt like, like there was first downs, they were moving it, and then they get to the red zone and they go into just dunce mode where they back up, it's false starts, you get a sack, and it's like, gosh, but it just felt like they weren't going to win that game kicking field goals against Alabama. They were going to need touchdowns, and they just they couldn't find it. But now, guys, and just to kind of combine this with the Florida game getting absolutely destroyed by Kentucky. And by the way, who wants to play Kentucky right now? They seem to be playing their best football now in the backstretch of the season. But DJ Lagway's so bad he gets benched. Garrett Nussmeier gets benched for LSU. And now interesting situations there where, I expect Florida will probably go back to Lagway, but the LSU one's very intriguing because they still have to play Oklahoma and I think Arkansas. But like they do they go back to Nussmeier or do they roll with Van Buren? Because Michael Van Buren kind of showed with his legs he can give them a little bit of versatility. And guys, I feel like this day and age, and especially in the SEC, you got to be versatile. You can't be that statue pocket passer anymore, and that's what Garrett Nussmeier is, and it's killing LSU.
If I'm Garrett Nussmeier, I probably want to sit out. I mean, you're not playing for the Heisman. You're not playing for a national championship or an SEC championship. You just don't have a ton out there that you're playing for, and you've got a pro career to consider. And I know some people may think it's selfish, but I think it's the right move. Now, I will disagree with Steven. I think Alabama loses one more. I don't care who it's to, as long as it isn't Eastern Illinois. I think they're in. Even that now they might be the 10 or 11 seed or something, but if Alabama just loses one more game with this schedule they've played, with the key wins they have, I thought it was kind of funny today. Danny Cannell, noted SEC hater, actually came out with his top 12 or whatever, and he has just like the AP on the top 3 with Ohio State, Indiana, A&M. I'd probably change some of that, but oh well. He's got Oregon 4 and Bama 5. I'm like, what universe? Who would say that? Nobody. I mean, Oregon's best win is now looking like the close loss to or moderately close loss to Indiana. I mean, they hadn't beaten anybody. And I'm not mad at Oregon. I'm not trying to throw Oregon under the bus. I'm just saying that there's no way you should have Oregon ranked ahead of Alabama based on what's happened on the field. That is just the way it is. Now, if Alabama loses to Oklahoma and loses to Auburn, we got a whole nother discussion. But as long as Alabama only has one more loss, they're 100% in. I'm totally confident in that.
Jay Smith jumping in with us, and I'm with you, Luke. The thing with Alabama is like the fans always want to go to loss. Who's got the worst loss? And you got to talk about wins. Who's got the best resume of wins? Bama's got more ranked wins than anybody in the country right now. So you got to start there. I understand the Florida State loss sucks. It was bad, but it was week 1. Yeah, all their work since week 1 out measures what they did in week 1.
Now, remember, when it comes to this playoff committee, what makes sense and what is logical is not what they always do. They're going to do what they want to do. And if they have an opportunity to make an example of an SEC big boy, they're going to do it, because you're going to hear the noise from outside yelling about the SEC starting about right now. Seriously.
But it's
I agree.
They want the TV ratings. So if this were even Ole Miss and they were on the bubble, I could see them leaving them out, a Vandy, a Mizzou. But the brand of Bama brings ratings. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I think that they're going to look at that heavily. But the bigger issue, to me, has been with the committee is that they don't always take in consideration the entire body of work. And they pick and choose whose body of work matters in a lot of their scenarios. Like, yes, the Florida State loss was really bad. Okay, you're going to talk about that. But all those ranked wins, to me, kind of surpasses that. You're past that point. And again, it's week 1. That's what happens. Week 1, teams show up because they've been planning the entire summer for this one game. And we saw what happened with Florida State from there. They've got how to play football afterwards. So it's one of those, we want this game desperately. And then now we've got it. Okay, now what do we do with our hands? I'm hoping the committee takes in consideration a lot of just how everybody builds and gets better over time, or how teams get worse over time. They need to look at all of that. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the committee puts together on Tuesday. They claim they always re-rank everybody from scratch every week. That's the claim. I want to see how much of the biases are there when it comes to that.
Yeah, and look, it's I understand people think Alabama gets all the breaks, whatever, in terms of with the committee. But this year, I think they've left it no doubt. I mean, nobody's played as many ranked games. Nobody's won as many ranked games. And they've done it on the road. They've done it at home. They've done it when teams were fully healthy. I mean, again, no disrespect to Texas A&M. They went in there and handled business. But beating the Missouri team with Bo Pribula at his place is different than beating a team led by Matt Zollers, Missouri.
Yeah.
It's just different. And again, I respect Texas A&M. I would have them number one in the country. I think they've done more than Ohio State and done more than Indiana. I would, but regardless, Alabama's got too much now. If they get to 3 losses, I'm certainly going to be sitting on the edge of my seat. 2 losses, I think they're a lot.
Let me let's transition real quick because we talked about Bama. Do need to give some love to A&M. I mean, 9-0 is 9-0, and again, that resume win at Notre Dame. Look, it took a miracle. It was a 4th and goal to a backup tight end to score the go-ahead touchdown, but that resume win looks better and better because we know Notre Dame don't really play anybody the rest of the year, so it's like beating up the Naval Academy and all this other stuff, but it's a resume win that keeps looking better and better. However, I did have somebody bring up, they're like, A&M right now is kind of what Texas was at this point last year, where we were looking and going, man, Texas didn't play LSU. They didn't play this team. They didn't play that team. You look at A&M, and they've beaten Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, all bottom dwellers in the SEC, LSU, who was ranked in the top 20, but then quickly booted out. And then, like we said, a good Mizzou team, but was on their 3rd-string quarterback. Look, from an A&M defense, all you can do is play who's on your schedule, but do you guys kind of look at them that way, kind of like Texas at this point a year ago? Like, they're good, but I don't know how good until they play some of these top teams.
I mean, they went to Notre Dame and won the game. And everyone's praising Notre Dame right now. Now, granted, it's just that's a matter of opinion of how you feel about Notre Dame, but they did go to South Bend and win that game. And so, to me, like you said, the games have been placed in front of them. They went out there and won. Everybody else had the same opportunity to play some of these teams too, and some teams did not come out with W's or didn't come out with big enough wins. But they've done a good job of just winning football games. That's what's matter. To me, that I don't like the Indiana piece. I think what helps Indiana in all the cases in their conversation is they beat the crap out of a lot of teams. They beat the crap like you're supposed to. And then game teams with more talent, they're closer, but they're squeaking out wins. But they're beating the crap out of teams that they're supposed to beat the crap out of. I think A&M is kind of in the same boat. They're winning the tough games that they're supposed to win. They're gutting them out. And they had 3 straight road games. I didn't realize that. That's freaking wild. In a row. You go to Arkansas, go to Baton Rouge, and then you go to Columbia and play Missouri. It's a pretty big deal. So they've won their games. Now the question is can they close it out with South Carolina as well as with Texas? Can they go to Austin and win?
Let me say this too. Rebel and David Ventures, by the way, awesome name. I do like it. He says the Alabama's guy is crazy if he thinks Alabama gets in with 2 wins. They're 12 slots, dude. They're 12. You got to fill them. You don't just get to say, we only think we get to take 6 this year. No, you got to fill 12 slots. Ohio State got in as the 5 seed with 2 losses last year. Am I remembering that wrong? And by the way,
no, you're 100% right. They did. They were 7. They
were 7.
They were the 7
because they didn't play the conference championship game. So
wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. I thought they were the 7, or were they 8? Maybe they were 8.
They play. All I know is Tennessee went to their place.
Tennessee went to their place. I think it was 8-9 because they had to play Oregon, remember? So that would have been 8-9 taking on the 1.
Yes.
It'd be the 8.
It was 8-9. Yeah, it was 8-9.
Regardless, they're an 8 seed with 2 losses. A lot of teams get in with 2 losses when you got 12 teams. And guess what? When we get to 16 teams, you'll get a lot of teams with 3 losses. I'm not advocating for it necessarily. I'm just saying that's the way it is. And so, Alabama's getting in with 2 losses, 100. And he said, dude, you lost to Florida State. Nobody cares. The wins make up for that.
Look at the wins.
Who'd you beat? Afterwards make up for it. You got to give credit for both. Now, to go with that, we got to remember the ACC had 2 big losses this past weekend, right? Louisville gets upset. Virginia gets upset. They're going to have 1 team. ACC is going to have 1 team, and then with BYU losing to Texas Tech, unless BYU avenges that loss in the Big 12 championship game, they might not make it either. It's going to be just Tech. So the Big 12 and the ACC will probably only have 1 team each.
Well, that's what's going to be fascinating on conference championship weekend, because that's what happened. The ACC last year basically stole 2 bids because SMU lost a nail biter to Clemson, so Clemson got in.
Yep, as a 3-loss team, they were going
to get in. So that could certainly happen. But you're right. If everything holds firm and the Big 12 best team wins out, it could be a 1-bid conference as well as ACC as well. I just think, look, you go 10-2 in the SEC. If you played a tough SEC schedule, you're in. I don't care who your loss is to, and especially a week 1 loss. That's about as forgiving as look. Arkansas basketball lost yesterday to St. John's or Michigan State. Like, the committee's not going to hold that against them come selection time because it's so early in the season. So I think football, again, strength of schedule is going to be a bigger factor this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think, though, that Alabama needs to root for Auburn to start winning games, because if for some reason the ghost happened in Jordan-Hare, it's going to be loud around there about Florida State and Auburn.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but it will get loud.
I mean, it's going to be loud. Look, I have no problem saying this. The Iron Bowl, every time in 2021, we had to have Bryce Young act like Superman. In 2023, we had the Gravedigger. And shoot, in 2009, one of the best teams we've ever had, we had to have a comeback with Greg McElroy and hit Roy Upchurch for a touchdown, for God's sakes. So it's always tough there, and it's always even tougher when Auburn has nothing to play for. I mean, you can say they're playing for a bowl game or whatever, but they really have nothing to play for, and they treat it like a Super Bowl. We talked about this last time. Florida and Georgia has been that way. Florida puts up a pretty good fight with Georgia. You know why? Because lately, Florida hadn't been doing anything to be relevant, except they're like, well, we got an off week. Let's at least try to beat Georgia this year. So I think that the Auburn game is going to be tough. Cam Coleman's a fantastic player, one of the best wide receivers in the country, no doubt. He proved that. But it's still that same offensive line. And Vanderbilt did put 45 on them yesterday, and I would say Alabama's offense is better than that. So I'm not throwing in the towel just yet.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with Auburn. Like I always say on my show, there's nothing more dangerous than a 5-win Egg Bowl team when it comes to the Egg Bowl. You're always going to get something kind of weird. I imagine that Auburn and Alabama is pretty similar there.
When we return, gents, we'll get into a few of the other games that happened yesterday. Georgia looking pretty darn good. And we'll talk about these SEC standings. Do you even want to go to Atlanta? We'll talk about that coming up here in just a second. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys about our friends over at Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time for you to get your home ready, whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting. Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. Look, I know Luke was talking about making some upgrades at his house. He hosts a lot of people this holiday season. You want to make sure you look good and you're ready to host all those big events, whether it be Thanksgiving, whether it be Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Make sure you go to Wayfair. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know just how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. All right, fellas, we dive back into it. And by the way, I want to remind everybody, thank you for making Locked On SEC and all of our shows your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. You guys did that. Appreciate you guys for doing that. Let's get into go ahead, Luke. Oh, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
I do it all the time. Let me tell you really quickly that the upgrades I made to my house were to keep more people out. So while Wayfair is fantastic, I'm looking for more fencing materials.
Well, maybe you just want some things that you enjoy that maybe other people wouldn't enjoy.
Yes, less people. Yeah, I enjoy less people.
How about some of the games yesterday, guys? Georgia absolutely spanking Mississippi State. It was funny watching College Game Day because it was like everybody was trying to talk themselves into, I don't know, this is a dangerous spot for Georgia. And Georgia goes out there and just absolutely obliterates Mississippi State. And I kind of felt bad. I mean, they were fresh off their first SEC win in 2 years, but Georgia took it to them. And that Georgia run game, guys, seems to be getting going here. Everybody's talking Bama and A&M and all these. It's like we forget, the Georgia Bulldogs that won back-to-back championships here in the last 5 years.
You know,
yeah,
coming
you mentioned
off,
it.
Go ahead.
I was say you mentioned it before. Like, do you really want to go to Atlanta? Like with the way that everything is going. Now, granted, you go to Atlanta, you're definitely going to make the playoffs. So it doesn't. It matters, but it doesn't matter. It matters in the fact that you get the accolade of having an SEC championship, but it don't matter because both teams are going to go with the way things are shaping out. But yeah, Georgia feels like they're finally getting going. Frazier running for 180 something yards, man. That's pretty significant. They've been struggling when it came to the run game over the last few games, in my opinion. It hasn't been what we're used to from Georgia, and so I think they're starting to turn that corner. That may be a problem.
Yeah, Georgia being Georgia, that should probably surprise no one. I mean, it's just they're going to figure it out. One thing that was kind of funny about this game was the halftime of the Ole Miss game when Lane Kiffin was walking off. He was asked about what did he think about the first half? And he was like, it's always exciting when your opponent's or your rivals getting boat raced or something like that by Georgia. And basically he saw the score when he was walking up on the stadium, and it was just hilarious. And I guess that shows how relaxed Lane was. But Georgia, man, they had a plan. They knew exactly how to attack the Mississippi State defense. And you got to wonder exactly how bad Arkansas is, because yesterday Mississippi State didn't look good.
Yeah, I did feel bad for Mississippi State. I appreciate their win over Arizona State, but the close loss to Tennessee in the OT. Who was the other close loss? Texas. I mean, how do you flub that? And then you come into this Georgia game, everybody's like, "Oh, we're due. We are due to have a big win." And then they get obliterated. They score on the first drive. They look great. And then they get obliterated.
Well, I want to ask you guys, I mean, as we look at the SEC standings, and keep in mind, SEC standings, not, non-conference losses don't matter here. A&M 6-0, Alabama 6-0. So if the season ended today, that would be your SEC championship game. Georgia's at 6-1, Ole Miss at 5-1, Texas still alive at 4-1. So what's going to be so fascinating this next week, guys, is if Texas beats Georgia in Athens, that knocks Georgia out of the SEC race. Texas would still be alive at 5-1, and if they beat A&M head-to-head in the final week of the season, Texas could then jump A&M into the SEC title game. So it's not decided yet. But Luke, let me ask you, as a Bama guy, do you even want to go to Atlanta? I know if you win the SEC championship, you get a bye, but it's also a chance for another loss against a really good team. Whereas some of these other 10-2 SEC teams, probably Ole Miss, going to be sitting there on the wayside going, we're good. We'll just get ready for our home playoff game.
Yeah, Jimmy and I talked about that last night after the game that, I know the SEC championship, all championship games have been devalued. And it's treated more like an NFL thing where you never hear anybody saying, well, we won the AFC North 4 of the last 5 years, because nobody cares. What they care, did you go to the Super Bowl? Oh, okay. Did you win it? That's it. Nobody really cares about much else. And I hate that for college football, because I think conference championships do mean something. I think they're a big deal. And maybe it's the old man in me, because I am an old man, that I want the SEC championship to mean something. So I want to go in my heart, in my soul. But my head's also like, well, why? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense now. It just doesn't. And I'm hanging on to nostalgia. But I love the SEC championship game. There is no championship game that is as much fun as the SEC championship game. The classics that have been in that thing are unbelievable. The fantastic games. The atmosphere is out of bounds. I know you two guys, unfortunately, not taking a shot. I know you hadn't been with your team, but I'm telling you, as a guy who's been to a lot of them, I went to the 2 in Birmingham. As a guy who's been to a lot of them, there's nothing like it. It is so unique, and you can't tell me. I've seen the old Pac-12 championship games where there were 17 people in there. You could count them like by yourself. I've seen the Big Ten championship games. Occasionally they have a good one, but mostly they're bad. But the SEC, man, every time it seems to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. And as an Ole Miss fan, yeah, I'd like to go to that game just so that I never have to hear the jokes about never being in that game, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. Never ask Ole Miss fans directions to Atlanta. They don't know.
Yeah. All of those jokes. It'd be nice if they disappeared. But the reality of the situation is, how awesome would a home playoff be in Vaught Hemingway Stadium on December 19th? When you're looking at the biggest football game in the history of the state of Mississippi and you're playing in it. That place is going to have 300,000 people. So if you can have that, or you can have the SEC championship game, this is a no-brainer. I'd rather have the home playoff game.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think playing in the conference championship has value still, and it's something that everyone aspires to be at. Just as Steven mentioned, you want to have the ability to say that I've at least been there And y'all can't make the joke that you can't find directions there, because you want that. You want to be able to get that off of your back at least once. And so, to me, I mean, a lot of fans feel like they're pointless because of the way the playoffs are set up. But you win it, you're guaranteed to be in. And in a lot of those situations, you get the bye week too. So as long as you maintain a high enough ranking, and you go in, you win it, and you get that bye week from like you host a game, as a bye. That's helpful to me. I think that's helpful to your team, especially as the critical thing about the playoffs is the healthiest teams usually are the ones that last the longest and win. Yep. Same West Ohio State. They started getting healthy as the playoffs came up. They didn't play in their conference championship after that loss to Michigan. They didn't have to play in the Big Ten championship, and then they hosted Tennessee. And they were getting healthier as the playoffs progressed, and the Big Ten champion didn't win their game. So you kind of want, if you have that win, especially as a highly ranked team, and you get that additional week there, to me, I think that helps a lot more than not.
Yeah. The reality is they need to go to 16, because right now in the playoff system that we have, the advantage goes to the 5, 6, 7, and 8 teams.
Yeah. To even add to that, if you're going to go to 16, the conference championship needs to be in a part of that 16. Like the teams that needs to be like the play in to get you to the 8 or the 6 or something. Make conference championships matter in that capacity. That way there's value going through into the playoffs itself.
I don't
you
like
gotta
that.
do something like that.
I don't like that, because what if this year, let's just say, let's put Ole Miss in there. Let's say it's Ole Miss and Texas A&M, and you're saying that's their first round game? I don't want that. That's not fair.
No.
I see where you come from on that, but my rebuttal would be, do we really want them playing 19 games and trying to figure out how to have the champion Super Bowl weekend?
Yeah, they're getting paid. That's not a thing that I'm necessarily worried about. What I'm more concerned, like what Luke said, is Ole Miss versus Texas A&M for the right to make it into the field, and the ACC is like Georgia Tech and SMU.
No, I don't think it's even a right to make it into the field. I think it's more so just going into like getting the bye week, going further down into the playoffs. Like you get to the Final Four or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure how to build it. I'm still making the plane while we're in the air on that, but I think that conference championships need to be integrated in some capacity. They've got to be.
Real quick, guys, there was another pretty exciting game yesterday. If you didn't watch it, Auburn found an offense finally. We'll discuss another heartbreaking loss for the Auburn Tigers, and Vandy still alive for the playoff coming up next. Hey guys, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, you can get in live betting. You can do parlays. Look, I was all over some parlays this weekend in college football, and FanDuel helped pay off. I'm telling you, I was picking. I went with some SEC upsets straight up. Didn't really pull off this weekend, other than Kentucky, but all the other ones were really exciting, really close. And FanDuel makes it that much more exciting. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, get signed up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, FanDuel.com. And gents, as we dive back into it, reacting to some of the games we saw yesterday, probably none more heartbreaking for Auburn than them losing in overtime at Vanderbilt, 45-38. I was absolutely shocked watching this game and seeing Ashton Daniels, who couldn't even get a first down last week, it felt like, against Kentucky, moving the ball up and down the field, just looked like a different quarterback. Auburn found an offense. They finally figured out, guys, it took this long to figure out, hey, maybe we should get Cam Coleman the ball. He's pretty good. And they score a ton of points. But Vanderbilt, give Diego Pavia credit. They keep battling back. This thing goes to overtime, and it's Pavia and the Commodores who get out victorious. What'd you guys think of this one?
Not going to lie, I was a little disappointed that Vanderbilt went forward on 4th and 1 in field goal range.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Why? I understand that Diego Pavia is like, give me this. Let me put this on my back. Nah. Kick that field goal in this thing. Why play the extra innings when you really don't have to? Put yourself in a situation where you could have lost.
Yeah.
Right. You got a good kicker.
Yeah.
Just do it. You're good.
It was very Lane Kiffin, Stephen.
Oh, you don't have to tell me.
Steven's very self-aware in a lot of that stuff, which I totally 100% appreciate. Most fans are not. Most commentators are not. You are, and I appreciate that. Yeah, but it's one of those. Don't try to outthink the room in that situation. Just put it on his leg. I know college kickers is really tough to put that type of pressure or anything on that, but go for it. To me, I would have just kicked the field goal.
By the way, Luke had to run. He said he had something he had to go get to, but I did want to. I know he's going to enjoy this, so I figured let's play it. Our own Zach Blackerby, host of Locked On Auburn, just sent us this video with his reaction to yesterday's loss.
I'm still just in total shock of going through what happened last night. I mean, what in the world was Hugh Freeze doing with this offense? I mean, hats off to this offensive staff for saying, "Hey, it's our chance. We get to make a great game plan here," and they did. They did. The offense was fantastic, and then everything that happened last night, I don't think anybody saw coming. I certainly did not. The defense just not being able to stop Diego Pavia. Like, Diego Pavia's had Auburn's number. Sure, that's been well documented, but they haven't been high-scoring affairs. It's just because the defense gave up a few drives and then the offense wouldn't be able to keep up. It's just a crazy game. It's so Auburn. It's crazy. But the offense was exciting for the first time this season, but it doesn't really feel like it matters because, once again, added to the list, Auburn keeps finding ways to lose, and they're getting more and more creative at this point.
Yeah, I'll say this, like, Auburn, at least they're giving the fans some exciting games, right? Even though they're losing.
I'm going to say this, and it's not going to come across very nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and just spill it out there. Why did Auburn fans think that Hugh Freeze was the answer? Like, everyone's been pointing this out, that the biggest holdback on this offense felt like it was Hugh Freeze. Like seriously, like what made anybody think that this offense wasn't going to look better when he was gone?
Hugh Freeze,
when you have your coach say that you have 4 different people calling plays depending on the down, I walked out and said, no, this doesn't make any sense. Like, nothing. There was no logic behind the way that it felt like he was running the offense. And I'm seriously asking the Auburn fans, why do we think that Hugh Freeze was even the answer to that? I mean, Peyton Thorne came in there as a 3,000-yard passer at Michigan State. Big Ten is pretty tough on passers. It can be tough unless you're really talented. And we know Michigan State ain't been that good. And he just kept going down every year, backwards, statistically.
Well, the offense looked great. I mean, were you guys shocked more with the defense had been lights out all year, and yet they had no answer for slowing down Pavia.
Listen, I want to say congratulations to Derek Nix. Seriously.
Oh, my God, he was good.
Yeah, he was at Ole Miss since 2008. It's always good to see good things happen to good people, and he was a genuinely good person at Ole Miss. And 500 yards of offense. He figured out how to unlock Cam Coleman, all of that stuff. Good job, Derek Nix. DJ Durkin giving up 45 points. That was the surprise of that game.
Yes.
That was the surprise. That's what cost Auburn that game. That wasn't in any way on the offense. And is one of those things that particular game was the worst possible look for Hugh Freeze. Because when you see that, it's like, oh, just a giant sign that says you are the problem. That's what that game showed. Defense kind of got weird. It was the first interim game, all of that stuff. I get that, but seeing the offense just click, 100-yard rusher, multiple 200-yard, 100-yard receivers. Ashton Daniels 300 yards. I think he ran for another 100 yards or pretty close to it. Man, it was impressive to see them offensively getting some stuff done, setting up a potentially weird game in just a couple of weeks.
Like, this offense looked like them against Ball State. For Auburn, that's what it looked like. I mean, the defense did not have that good of a game. There was struggles in there for them. And again, as point mentioned, Pavia was cooking Texas defense. We consider Texas defense one of the best out there in the country too. Pavia's I think he's just that good. I think that he does a really good job. Plus, I also think that DJ Durkin, this is not a slight to him, so please, Auburn fans, don't take it this way. But him focusing on the entire team, I think, did take away from the defense. Yeah. Like, his job was to be the CEO of running everything, bringing everybody back together, rallying the troops, and paying attention to every part of it. It was his first time here at Auburn doing it. Not saying he's done it before, right? He's been a head coach before, but it's different when you have to take over for somebody else and then go in there and inject all of what you want to do to get it to work. It just happened. That is what it is. And so I don't think that, honestly, I think that Auburn plays better against Bama than they did against Vanderbilt. More so because Bama really doesn't run the ball like that. Like, they don't have a dual threat quarterback that you have to spy constantly. Ty Simpson's a dot thrower. He's just going to just surgically beat you out. But he's also not going to throw for 400 yards on you. Pavia Ty Simpson is a lot safer when it comes to being a thrower. Let's just put it that way.
How many times did it feel like Auburn had Pavia, and yet he just slips out of your grasp? And it's so frustrating if you're playing against him. But I'll say this, though, guys. The last game to kind of touch on is the Kentucky absolute beatdown of Florida last night in the Swamp. DJ Lagway gets benched. Cutter Boley has really come along as a nice quarterback. Seth McGowan, a great find in the portal at running back. I mean, he's been great for him. But that defense, what they've done, I mean, they give Texas everything they can handle. Losing overtime, probably should have won that game. Tennessee comes in and absolutely crushes them, puts up 56 points. But after that, they kind of reset. They go into Auburn last week. They win 10-3, and now they beat Florida 38-7. The only reason I bring this up, guys, Kentucky's 4-5. They're going to play Tennessee Tech next week. After that, it's at Vandy and at Louisville. At Vandy is very intriguing because if this Kentucky defense keeps playing like this, maybe they're the ones with a recipe to slow down Pavia.
Yeah, that game's going to end in like 2 hours and 15 minutes, by the way. It's going to feel like a running clock in that game, and that'll be the fastest football game ever. I do want to see that. Mark Stoops has figured out he's getting back into his bag of creating rock fights, and he has an offense that can actually score points now. And that makes Kentucky dangerous because of the way they play defense. And I'm going to be honest, completely honest. Watching that game, I'm just sitting there hate watching and laughing my butt off because of all the social media angst that's coming in from the Gainesville area in my general direction. But yeah, that was a pretty fun watch.
Yeah, it was a fun one. And I did not have on my bingo card that not only would DJ Lagway, but Garrett Nussmeier will both get benched in the same week. Never expected it. Never even implied it would ever happen, especially after Lagway, the way he started the season out brutal. Shout out to Chris Marler for kind of pointing out the overratedness. You know, his article is still floating around the Twitter sphere, but man, they look bad. Like they look defeated, like they quit. That team really did look like they quit. It just looked like it was just like, meh. And Kentucky, once again, Mark Stoops finds a way to get his team propelling up at the end just to keep his job once again.
Well, that was the big picture story from this one, guys. I think Stoops may be off the hot seat for now because if he can beat Tennessee Tech, and by the way, this is a good Tennessee Tech team. I know that's supposed to be a cupcake, but they're actually really good this year. If they win that one, that's their 5th win. So then all they have to do is beat either Vandy or Louisville to get to bowl eligibility. And Louisville losing in overtime to Cal, nothing would warm Wildcat fans' hearts more than to take out their rival in Louisville and get to bowl eligibility. And I think it's 6-6. I think Stoops with the massive buyout is safe for another year.
Yeah, with the playoff basically out of reach for Louisville, it'll be real interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. That's a gettable game, and I do think that Vanderbilt game's a gettable game because Vandy's good. Don't get me wrong, but Vandy can beat anybody. Vandy can also lose to anybody with the way they play.
Yeah, that's true. That I agree with 100%. They're either or in this scenario, but it's going to be interesting last 3 weeks of the season. It's going to be fun. Yeah. I think we're more invested in the last 3 weeks of the season since this playoff. That's the only thing I think it has been good about the playoffs has been we actually are truly invested in the last few weeks of every season outside of the 1 or 2 teams that are undefeated. trying to play for the national championship.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys. Go
we
ahead.
we have Oklahoma in here. We have somebody that has ties to LSU kind of. But one thing that is really cool about this week, and we haven't talked about the Ole Miss game because we wouldn't talk about that, but with that win over the Citadel, the last 2 weeks of the regular season, every single game this year is meaningful for Ole Miss.
Yes,
and that's
it all
cool
matters.
feeling.
Love that.
Sorry
love that for us.
My internet tweaked out there for a second. What I was going to ask you guys is right now heading into week 12. And by the way, we got two really big matchups this week. Oklahoma against Alabama is ranked unranked, and Texas at Georgia is ranked unranked. So those are going to be massive games this weekend. But if I asked each of you guys, you could pick one team that you think, if I gave you $1,000 to bet on, you could put on one team to win the national championship right now from the SEC, who would you put that money on?
Oh gosh.
And Steven, you can go Ole Miss if you want, but
no, I was waiting on him to go, and then I was going to go Ole Miss. I was going. This Ole Miss team is one tackle on a 4th and 2 away from beating Georgia and Athens and being 8-0 right now.
Yeah,
one tackle,
that's very
one
much
play.
true.
We should mention y'all beat the crap out of the Citadel, but nobody watched it. So
my goodness, that game. There's been more competitive spring games whenever the starters were going against the third string. It was bad. I mean, Ole Miss held them to 100 yards of offense, 35 first downs to 5. It was an absolute beatdown. But the impressive part about that, Lane Kiffin had those guys up for the Citadel going into this stretch, which means that locker room knows what's at stake for this Ole Miss team.
Which is the most important. So, yeah, if I was to betting national championship money right now, I'm probably throwing it at A&M right now. I think Ole Miss is up there too. 100% agree. I need to see Bama hasn't been able to run this season, and it's been weird. I'm not used to that. Like, I'm used to them having bruising running backs that eat and grind out clocks. They're a passing team, and they look like it. They look like Washington that went to the national championship. You know, the quarterback that just throws darts. He just throws dots nonstop. Run game is okay, but they figured out getting those great wide receivers going. But that's what they feel like. It's going to be tough, man, though, because I think that I think Georgia can get there. They're getting their running back game back going. It's hard to really pick, but I'd probably toss my money today just on A&M, and I hate myself for that.
Yeah, once the playoffs get announced, whoever gets the buys, remove them from the national championship consideration if last year is any indication.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
So somebody said they hadn't heard of those commentators before for Ole Miss. It was Dave Neal and Fozzie Whitaker.
It was Mr. JP Sports and Texas Legend. Yeah.
They're probably the D or E team, but at least they've been on games all year. It's not like I was expecting to see two names I had never heard of.
I hate that Dave Neal is down doing SEC Plus games, SEC Network Plus games, because I was serious a couple of weeks back to where if Ole Miss played Vandy for some reason in the SEC championship game, that should have been a Jefferson Pilot sports game with the 3 days. I mean, absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I will say, like, if I had money to put on a team right now, look, Bama and Georgia are the easy ones just because they've been there, done that in recent years, right? Kalen DeBoer would be very interesting. I'll say this right now. If Kalen DeBoer wins the championship at Alabama, it's over for the rest of the SEC. All we're going to hear about is the Bama dynasty is still very much alive, and I mean it's over for us. But the A&M thing is very intriguing because they've played so well. I talked about it last year. Their defense under Elko was going to get better. The dominant run game, and then Marcel Reed learned how to pass, and you got them big pass catching weapons in Craver and Concepcion. They're going to be tough to beat, man. Like even on a day where they don't execute fully. Look at what they did. They blew out LSU. They blew out Missouri. Like A&M is strong right now, man. It's all coming together, and that money that they invested in NIL to buy these players through the portal, it's working out.
Yeah,
it's weird to say.
I want to see what it looks like when they play a good clicking offense. That is my question, because Arkansas scored 40 on them. Notre Dame scored 40 on them. I want to see what happens when they run into an Alabama. If they play Alabama in the SEC championship game, I think that would be interesting. Elko is very good. Don't get me wrong, but it'd be curious to see exactly how that would look.
Yeah, that's what I'm intrigued by too. That they haven't found a Well, and which is interesting because Notre Dame feels like their defense is actually pretty good. It became a shootout, which is really crazy to me that I would have never guessed Marcel Reed would have been able to do that. And it's nothing against him. I just feel like they limit him in the offense, but it feels like he's just taking over and said, I'm going to go do some stuff. And he's out there, he's flinging it, and he's playing backyard football. So kudos to him because he's balling, and I've enjoyed watching him play this season.
Yeah, and I would be curious to see, like I'm friends and staying content with Marcel Reed's dad, and talking about that. He still listens to the show a little bit, and they're a confident group. They feel like it's starting to really come on and click, and Marcel Reed and Texas A&M are the beneficiaries of that. All of those closed. Damon Williams, Marcel Reed, all of those were quarterback commitments originally to Ole Miss, for anybody that has any doubts about Lane Kiffin's quarterback recruiting ability.
Yeah.
Well, gents, we will leave it there. It was a fun SEC Week 11. Can't wait to see what Week 12 will bring us. There are some big matchups happening this weekend. Thank you guys for making all our Locked On shows your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. Couldn't do it without you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow on our Locked On shows.
Howdy toddy, y'all.
Boomer sooner.
Gosh almighty.